Hey there. So today we're going to be breaking down the seated forward bend where both legs are out in front and you're folding forward. A lot to be said about this pose. The best way to prepare for this pose is practicing it and also making sure that your hamstrings, the back of your legs, are properly stretched, warmed beforehand. Both sides of your hip, the outside and the inside of your hip, and also your low back. So you want to be thinking that this would probably be a pose that you're doing after you've been standing, after you've sufficiently warmed your muscles and also stretched a lot of these areas that will help you get in and out of this pose effectively over and over again. So with thinking about your breath and in your forward bend, you are creating length each time you inhale. So you inhale, you create that length, feeling your sits bones pushing into the mat, and as you exhale, your belly comes in tight as you fold forward. Okay, so a couple things here with props. You can sit on a blanket, you can fold up a blanket, sit a little bit higher on said blanket, and basically what this does is that if your hips are tight, this will open up so that you are not collapsing over in your chest, but keeping your pelvis, your sits bones pushing into the mat and bending from the belly as you come forward, keeping the upper chest straight. The knees can be bent. The reason, you see these forward bends and these seated forward bends and the legs are straight and you may want to flop over. You're like, well, I'm not that flexible. Well, if you think of creating length on each inhale and you pull your belly in tight on each exhale, keeping the length, your upper back lifted, and then as you come forward, exhaling, folding forward, as you inhale, lift that chest again, over and over. You're building strength. You're building stability in this low back, pelvic, sacral area. Over and over in your forward bends, the kneeling ones, the standing ones, you're doing that same thing. And the repetition of that, again, the accumulation of that, is going to build strength and stability in your low back, where a lot of us have low back problems, sitting in a desk all day, things like that that add to the strain. Keeping that length on each inhale, pulling your belly in tight on each exhale, keeping that pelvis stable. So again, standing, it's almost easier to show it. So instead of kicking your pelvis back in a forward bend, so kicking the pelvis back so you're putting most of your weight in your hips here, and you come back up, right? Well, if you pull that belly in tight and you hinge from the belly, hinge from this point as you exhale, folding forward, keeping that upper back lifted, all the way, all the way, all the way, finally dropping the head at the bottom. You're doing the same thing with your seated forward bend, but you have your legs, bent just a little bit more. So let's get into the seated forward bend. So first of all, find, whether you want a blanket or not. That's a personal decision for you. And also, if you are that flexible person that can just fold into this thing and hang out and, massage their feet while they're in this position with their head at their calves, that's awesome. But think about it this way too. If you're folding so easily, build strength in those hips. So this also might be a good position for you. Just think about that. So, again, imagine your sits bones pushing into the mat, even taking the flesh from the sides and pulling it back so that you can feel your sits bones pushing into the mat. So your sits bones pushing into the mat, your pelvis is just at neutral, upright, your back is straight, upper back is lifted, your head is reaching towards the ceiling. So find your smooth, steady breath. Take as long as you need to find that length on inhale, pulling your belly in tight as you exhale. Just think about that for a minute. Just get into that breath. Once you get there, keeping your hands just at your side. A lot of times this is enough of a posture for you. So with your knees just a little bit bent, begin to straighten them. You can have your feet flexed, your feet just relaxed. It's up to you, as long as you make sure that your feet are still facing forward. So bend your knees or straighten your legs until you feel a little bit of a stretch. Keep your hands at your sides. Just inhale, feel length. Exhale, pull your belly in tight as you begin to fold forward. You don't have to go too far. Inhale, lift with the collarbones, feeling length. Exhale, belly in, folding forward. A couple more times like that. Just kind of getting the idea of not flopping forward, or just of keeping this area right here, those sits bones pushing into the mat, feeling length as you inhale, pulling your belly inside as you exhale. Okay? So as you've warmed up your body even more, again, as you fold forward, take your hands now this time onto your legs. So you're going to inhale, feel length. Exhale, pull your belly in tight, fold, and just take your hands down to where they feel comfortable. Inhale, lift with the collarbones, feeling length. Okay, again, my pelvis is not pushed back so that I'm tipping over. I've got both sits bones pushing into the mat. As I inhale, there's length. As you exhale, pulling your belly in tight, beginning to fold. So you're not collapsing your chest, still keeping that length shooting through the crown of your head. Your chin is just as if there was a fist underneath. Just letting it go into neutral. So here it's in neutral, as if there's a fist underneath, maybe a little bit less. Inhale, feel length. Exhale, pull your belly in tight as you fold forward. So this is a pose where over and over it seems like such a simple move, but in having the right areas of your body stretched and warmed enough to be able to effectively get in and out of the pose is key. And then also honoring your body. If you do flop over, build some strength in your hips maybe. Start focusing. It feels really weird at first, but start focusing on folding from the belly, keeping the upper chest lifted, lifting from each forward bend with your collarbones instead of rolling up. Lift with those collarbones, even pulling the shoulders back a little bit. If you have any questions, please let me know. Let your breath guide you. Let your breath make you long. Let your breath fold you forward. And it does. It builds strength. It builds stability. And again, for people with low back problems, this may not be the pose for you to begin with, but it is a pose that will help build stability in your low back area to prevent chronic pain in the future. So namaste. Have an awesome day, you guys. Rock your forward bends. Rock your practice.